What would you risk to find out who has a real heart, your pride, your comfort, your name? Would you step onto the street with your child, wearing clothes that weren't yours, and trust a stranger to see you? That's how it begins. A father kneels on the cold floor of a garage the size of a small museum and rubs garden soil into his son's cheeks until the boy's laughter turns into a squeal. He musses the boy's hair, then his own. He pulls a frayed shirt over a chest that's used to tailor cotton. Now we look like we've had a hard week, he says with a grin that trembles at the edges. Papa, the boy asks, tugging the hem of the ruined shirt. Will this really work? It will show us something true, Matteo, the father says. Not about them, about us. They don't take the imported car today. They take the most ordinary one. They drive past iron gates and quiet fountains until the city swallows the street's clean edges. They park where no one looks twice. They walk to the wide concrete heart of the city where footsteps never stop, where the scent of hot bread battles exhaust, where 1,000 stories go unnoticed by noon. The father calls himself Roberto. The boy's always Matteo. They choose a corner near a subway exit. The boy sits cross-legged and tries to look brave. The father kneels beside him, voice low and soft. Remember the plan. We don't beg. We tell the truth of the disguise we're wearing today. We say we're hungry and we don't have a place to sleep. People pass. One drops a coin without looking. Another tosses a glance sharp as glass and turns away. A woman in tall heels pretends to examine something very interesting on the horizon. The boy watches all the shoes pass, and his hope wears thin. Time drips. An hour, then another. The father keeps his voice light. The city walks fast, but kindness doesn't always walk fast. Sometimes it stops. When kindness stops, it looks like a young woman with a blue cleaning uniform that's been washed thin and tennis shoes that have learned every crack of every sidewalk. She is tired the way good people get tired. Deep in the eyes, but those eyes are gentle. She crouches so she is eye level with the boy, even though the ground will stain her pants. Do you have food? She asks softly. Are you hungry? The boy nods. The father swallows a lump. It is the first time today someone has spoken to them like people and not like a problem. Wait a second, the woman says. She opens a worn bag, counts coins and wrinkled bills. 280 pesos, she whispers, almost apologizing. It's all I have for 2 days, but... She presses the money into the father's hand and smiles at the boy. Children don't go hungry if I can help it. The boy leans toward his father and whispers, reverent, Papa? She looks like Mom from heaven. It makes the father's throat burn. He looks at the woman and sees not a savior with wings, but a person with a spine of steel and soft hands. What is your name? He asks, voice steadying on courtesy. Esperanza, she says. Esperanza Hernandez. And you? Roberto, the man answers, feeling the lie weight his tongue. This is my son, Matteo. Hi, Matteo, she says, and he beams because she says his name like it matters. How old are you? 8, he says. Tia Esperanza. Polite child, she smiles. She points down the block. There's a bakery on the corner. Go get something good for him. And don't be shy with the bread. Hot is always better. She pushes the bag onto her shoulder and stands. Do you want me to bring you something when I finish work? I'm done at 6. I can check on you. See if you need anything else. You've done enough already, the man says, humbled. No, she says lightly. I did what anyone should do. One helps when one can. She disappears into a glass building. The father exhales and grips the small hand beside him. Come on, he whispers. We have to change. They hurry to the car and scrub their faces with bottled water. In the rearview mirror, their original forms appear. The man clean and handsome, the boy bright and well-kept. 5 minutes erase 2 hours of pretending. They walk back into the building where Esperanza works, not as beggars but as themselves, and ask the guard where the cleaning company is. 3rd floor, they're working, the guard says, bored, because his day is full of people who look like them. Upstairs, they find Esperanza at the end of a hallway with a bulky security guard. She is pleading softly. Don Aurelio, please. Don't kick them out. It's a father and his boy. The child is so small. Orders from administration, the guard sighs. Begging scares the clients. I know, she nods, but let them stay until I'm out. If someone gets mad, I'll take responsibility. You'll lose your job, he warns. If someone complains, I'll say it was my idea, she insists, chin up. The father's eyes sting. He has built skyscrapers. He has closed deals with a handshake. He has forgotten how to be leveled by a simple act. Behind the pillar, his son whispers, Papa, why are you crying? Because we found her, he says, the person we were looking for. At 6 on the dot, the elevator doors open. Esperanza steps out, hair damp with sweat, feet aching but head high. Are they still outside? She asks the guard. They are, he says. They said to thank you. I'll go check on them, she says, already walking. Make sure they ate. They meet her on the sidewalk, neat now, with new edges to their words. You cleaned up, she says, surprise blooming into relief. Did you find a place to wash? A friend let us use a shower. The man lies, and the lie burns more than the soap ever could. Did the boy eat? She asks quickly. He did, the man says. Thank you. And where will you sleep? Shikonam, she asks, looking from one to the other. Do you have somewhere safe to go? The man hesitates. He wants to say, we have 8 bedrooms. We have a room even the light likes. He says instead, we were going to try a shelter. She blinks once. I don't have much space. My apartment is small, but there's a couch. One night if you want. Tomorrow we'll figure something out. He opens his mouth. No one has ever offered him a couch before. No one has offered him something that didn't cost him anything but humility. We don't want to bother you, he says, because that is the right line to say when someone offers you something priceless. It's no bother, she says. We help where we can. Mateo is polite. He won't be trouble. Tia Esperanza, the boy says, all making his voice sweet. You're very kind. She grins. Do you like cartoons? I have cable. You can watch while I make you dinner. On the bus, the father watches her greet the driver by name. Give an old woman her seat. Tickle a fussy toddler until the cry snags on laughter. He sees a pattern. Kindness isn't something she does. It's something she is. Her apartment is 2 rooms in a building that breathes with life through the walls. Plants crowd the windowsills like friendly faces. The floor is clean in a way that has nothing to do with money and everything to do with pride. She apologizes for the smallness, and the man feels for a moment like the giant who broke into a cottage, clumsy and undeserving. Why don't we tell her the truth? Mateo whispers as Esperanza stirs a pot, and the room fills with a smell so simple it feels like a lullaby. She's good. We will, Mom, the man says. When it's right. When? The boy presses. I don't know, the man admits. But somewhere in the ache where his wife's last words lit a candle, he feels a northern star turn. In a hospital room 2 years ago, he had promised a woman with lips the color of paper, find our son a mother who wants our child, not our money. A true mother, Sebastian. He had said yes, and for 2 years, his yes had been hot air in a cold room. Now, in this humble kitchen, he thinks, I found her. 3 months slip off the calendar like petals. The man spends his free hours there, in the little apartment where doors open into laughter. He tells Esperanza his name is Roberto and that he's found work selling things. The truth, Sebastian Montemayor, owner of a construction empire, stays in his chest like a coin under the tongue. Mateo learns to live with 2 names for his life. At school, he is the son of a mogul. At Esperanza's, he is simply a boy with a belly that no longer hurts with missing. They eat beans and rice, tortillas warm from the comal, chicken seasoned by hand and intuition. He watches the way she turns cheap ingredients into abundance and reminds himself he is not in love with fantasy, but with the way she makes little things holy. One day the boy blurts, Mama Esperanza, without thinking. The woman blushes. You don't have to call me that, she says quickly. I like it, the boy says. When you marry her, he tells his father later, dead serious, she'll be my mama for real. In a small kitchen with steam rising, the man says, I've been thinking the same thing. They kiss for the first time on a roof where laundry flaps like flags and the sun warms, the paint cracked by years. The city at their feet looks less heavy. It should be perfect. It isn't. The truth is a weight that grows heavier with every good day. The man chooses a simple restaurant, saves a table, chooses words. When she arrives in a dress he has never seen, bought with money she didn't have because she wanted to look beautiful for him, his resolve wavers. But he begins. My real name isn't Roberto, he says. It's Sebastian. Sebastian, she repeats, as if she's testing the taste. Sebastian what? Montemayor. Her face empties. She pulls her hand back slowly, careful not to break. The construction company? She asks. You're that Montemayor? Yes, he says. You were pretending? Her voice shakes on the word. When we met, when I gave you everything I had, you were pretending. We were testing, he says, the justification brittle, trying to see who had a true heart. I needed to know. Needed to make me your experiment, she snaps. She stands, chair legs scraping the floor, the sound a small scream. You lied to me for months. You let me believe things that weren't true. You let me build a life in my head. And you did it because I was poor, because my life is a stage for rich men's lessons. Please, he says. Listen. Listen to what? She says. That you love me? You love an idea of me. You don't know me. You know a story you made up about a good-hearted poor girl. I am not your project. I am a person. Mateo cries. Mama Esperanza, don't go. His mother of the heart looks at him and nearly breaks. Mi amor, she whispers. Mama Esperanza has to go. She walks out into the night, and the door of the restaurant whispers shut behind her like a goodbye that will echo. The man carries his son home and refuses to speak to his father. His father, Rodolfo, is waiting anyway, blue veins of rage standing out at his temples. What happened? He demands. Nothing you need to know, Sebastian says. I'm your father, Rodolfo snaps. You owe me the truth. Mateo sniffs. Mama Esperanza left because Dad lied. Mama who? Rodolfo's voice curdles. You've been dallying with a cleaning woman? She's the only person who told me the truth when I asked for it, Sebastian says quietly. That farce is over, Rodolfo declares, a smile like a knife. Good. Do not talk about her like that, Sebastian warns, but his father is already taking out his phone. He calls his assistant, Leticia. Find everything on a cleaning woman named Esperanza Hernandez, he says. Where she lives, where she works. All of it. Tomorrow. Turns in the morning, the file arrives. Rodolfo reads it like whether he already knows. Perfect target, he mutters. Orphan, poor, a heart bigger than her walls. She'll break fast. He sends Leticia to Esperanza's company, posed as a housewife. Leticia offers a too-good-to-be-true salary at a mansion in Polanco. Esperanza hesitates, then accepts because the electricity bill comes like clockwork even when your heart is broken. At the mansion, a man in his 50s with a changed haircut and different glasses introduces himself as Mr. Gilberto. It is Rodolfo in a cheap disguise that fools only the people he wants to fool. He lists his rules. Work hard, don't talk, don't question. He studies the way she says, "Yes, sir," and understands that dignity can whisper. He orders her to clean the dining room until it shines like water. When she finishes, he drags a finger across a hidden corner and holds up the speck of dust like a sin. Again, he says. When she finishes again, he stomps across the wet floor with dirty shoes. Again, he says. He accidentally drops a plate. Clean it, he says. When she straightens in pain, he watches her face for the moment the light dims. It does not. People like you were born to serve people like us, he says lazily. No, she says softly but firm. What did you say? He asks, enjoying himself. Nothing, sir, she says, and goes back to cleaning. A week into torment, her hands raw, her back a map of aches, she sees a picture frame on a table. A little boy with wild curls grins at the camera. Her heart jumps into her throat. Matteo, she whispers. Found something interesting? Rodolfo asks, stepping into the doorway. You know this boy, he says, as if he's flipping over a card he knows the value of. How do you know Matteo? She asks softly. He's my grandson, he says, and his smile turns into a shark. And now you know who I am. Rodolfo Montemayor, she says, soul sinking into her shoes. Sebastian's father. In the flesh, he says. Of course I knew who you were. You think I hire at random? Why, she asks, why do this? Why bring me here to teach you your place? And he says simply, my son is a fool. He believes in stories about poor girls with good hearts. I believe in the truth. You saw your chance. You reach for money. It's nature. I didn't, she says. I loved your son. People like you love the idea of climbing, he sneers. By the way, why did you accept such a high salary if not for greed? To pay rent, she says. To buy food, to breathe a little. To live does not mean to steal. Before she can say more, the front door opens and Sebastian walks in calling, Papa, I need to talk to you about... He stops short when he sees her. Esperanza? He breathes, moving toward her, hand out like a man in a crowd reaching for a hand he knows. I work for your father, she says. Where else would a cleaning woman belong? Son, Rodolfo says smoothly, this is Esperanza, an excellent employee, committed, dedicated. Did you know it was her? Sebastian demands. I hired her for a reason, Rodolfo says, to show both of you where she fits in our world. Esperanza picks up her bucket and her rag. If you'll excuse me, I have work to finish. Wait, Sebastian says, don't go, please. We have nothing to discuss, she says, voice cold with the frost that comes after tears. You taught me everything in that restaurant. Your father is just giving me a final lesson. I didn't know he brought you here, Sebastian says. I didn't know. Of course you didn't, she says bitterly. Why would a millionaire worry about a cleaning woman? Rodolfo smiles like a man who thinks the deck is stacked in his favor. Esperanza leaves with her chin up. Where are you going? Sebastian calls after her. Anywhere this house is not, she says. Keep your job. Keep your rules. I will keep my dignity. The door slams like judgment. In the days after, Rodolfo conducts a quiet war. He makes calls to anyone who might employ her. Don't give that woman a job, he says. She steals. I saw it myself. He orchestrates one last humiliation. He invites her to clean again on a weekend for even more pay. He leaves a gold watch on a table and steps into another room. When she returns, it's gone. He enters with Sebastian, demands to search her bag. He pulls the watch out like a magician, revealing shame. I didn't take it, she gasps. Someone put it there. Who? He asks softly. You, she says. Why would I do that? He clucks. The son looks at the watch, at the woman he loved, at his father, and years of conditioning whisper, trust your blood. I'm disappointed, he says, voice gone small with confusion. After everything, she says, you will choose this? And then she is gone, and this time she means it. A rumor can eat a life faster than fire. Weeks later, Esperanza finds herself knocking on doors that used to open to her with a smile. I'm sorry, says one manager. We've heard things. But you know me, she pleads. He looks away. I can't risk it. Money thins. Meals get smaller. She sweeps other people's floors for coins. She shakes. She grows paler. One afternoon, she sits on her sofa and the room tilts. Her neighbor, Doña Remedios, calls out, panicked. Esperanza! They take her to a clinic. A doctor frowns at test results and asks a question that feels like a trick. When was your last period? She stares at him. 2 months, maybe. He smiles gently. Congratulations, he says. You're about a month along. She laughs and cries at once. I'm carrying his child, she whispers to no one. A wave crashes, the kind of fear that comes for the strongest swimmers. Doctor, she asks, voice shaking, what if I can't feed this baby? You need nutrition, the doctor says kindly. We can see you for prenatal care. But the food, you must eat. She goes home with a piece of paper that says there is life inside her and no idea how to feed it. She tells no one at first, not even Doña Remedios. He'll think I'm lying to get money, she says. He'll think like his father. In another house, Mateo grows quiet. He plays less. He eats less. He holds the phone his grandfather bought him and feels its weight like a promise his life can't keep. He taps the screen and discovers he can record sounds. He records his own voice, the hum of the refrigerator, the gossip of the maids. One afternoon, he hides behind a hedge as Rodolfo speaks on the patio. Yes, Ricardo, his grandfather says into the phone. That cleaning woman. Make sure no one hires her. Tell them she steals. No, it's not gossip. I saw it. She tried to take a watch here. Tell everybody. We need her out of the city, out of his life. Mateo presses record. He doesn't understand the law. He understands wrong. He records again later as his father and grandfather argue. Maybe she didn't steal, Sebastian says. How not? Rodolfo scoffs. I pulled the watch from her bag. It felt strange, Sebastian says. Too neat. You're doubting me now? Rodolfo thunders. I'm just saying. I am your father. I want the best for you, Rodolfo says smoothly, and Mateo realizes he's listening to a spell that has been cast 1,000 times. 2 months pass like the slow dripping of a faucet. Smoke rattles in Mateo's chest. He coughs until his ribs ache. He burns with fever, and the doctor says, pneumonia? Says hospital, says now. In the pale room that hums with electronics, Mateo calls and calls. Mama Esperanza? He whispers into the bright air. Where is Mama Esperanza? He begs until his father's heart cracks and runs. Sebastian stands outside the hospital and calls his father. He's very bad, he says. He keeps asking for her. You're not thinking straight, Rodolfo says. Do not bring her back. What if he dies? Sebastian asks in a voice he doesn't recognize. What if he dies and I didn't do the one thing I could? Sebastian doesn't wait for advice. He leaves. He drives to Niza. He bangs on Doña Remedios' door. Where is she? He pants. At work, the neighbor says. A woman in Roma Norte. Doña Soledad. He finds the house. He says the name in the doorway, and Esperanza appears with a rag in her hand and fear written all over her face. What are you doing here? Mateo's sick, he says. Very sick. He asked for you. What is it? She asks, voice steadying the way it does when fear needs a leader. Pneumonia, he says. He's fading. I'm coming, she says, grabbing her bag. At the hospital, she walks into the room like a homecoming. My boy, she says, and her voice drops into the music that makes the machines breathe easier. His hot little hand curls around her finger. His eyes open. You came, he breathes. I will never leave you when you need me, she says. And she hums the stupid little song she made up once while washing dishes, and the stupid little song becomes a miracle. The monitor's steady. The smile arrives. Hope returns like it never left. Dr. Villanueva stands in the doorway, eyebrows climbing. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it, he says. Sebastian stands at the foot of the bed and watches the two people he loves most teach him everything he forgot about love. The next day, Mateo's better. By the third, he is asking for apples. Why did you and Dad fight? He asks, looking from one to the other. You love each other. I can see it. It's complicated, Esperanza says. I have a secret, Mateo announces, because to a child, timing is a simple thing. I recorded Grandpa being mean. He said, it's not a lie. Well, not a complete lie. He said he had to keep you away. Do you want to hear? Sebastian's hand shakes as he brings the phone to his ear. The recording plays. Rodolfo's voice drips like oil. He hears his father say, "Invent something if you have to." He hears, "It's not the first time we've done this." He hears the sound of his own denial cracking. "Dios," he whispers. "My son, when did you—" "After you cried," Mateo says simply. Esperanza stares at the floor so he won't see she's crying. "So it was a trap," she says softly. "All of it." "I'm sorry," Sebastian says, kneeling at her feet like a penitent. "I should have trusted you. I should have fought for you. I should have seen him." "Now you do," she says. "Now we keep the boy safe." "I love you," he says, the truth finally like water. "I never stopped," she says, "because some things don't turn off when the lights go out." "Marry me," he says, "because the child is watching and because the child is right. Not because he told me to, because I cannot imagine the world where you are not the gravity that holds me here." "I need to tell you something first," she says, and she puts a hand on the small swell under her dress. "I'm 4 months pregnant. It's yours." His mouth opens, then closes again. He laughs like a man who got lost and found the road. "We're having a baby," he says, as if saying it makes it more true. Mateo claps. "A brother," he declares. "A baby," Esperanza smiles. "We don't know who yet, but yes, a baby." They take Mateo home when the hospital says he is safe. They drive to the mansion, not for a fight, but for a reckoning. They do not bring lawyers. They bring a boy with a phone and a woman with a spine. Rodolfo meets them in the foyer, indignation already rising. "What is she doing here?" he asks, and the disdain in the word "she" cuts like a knife. "Sit down," Sebastian says, forgetting he is the son. "I won't discuss anything in front of—" "You will, or you will never see your grandson again," Sebastian says, and the sentence tastes like blood. They go into the living room that has never seen anything like this. Esperanza stays standing. She is done sitting in rooms where men pretend chairs are thrones. "Listen," Mateo says, because he knows cue lines when he hears them. He presses play. Rodolfo's voice fills the room, ugly and naked. "Explain this," Sebastian says when the recording ends. "Explain not a complete lie. Explain, invent it if you have to. Explain the watch. Explain why I don't know my father at all." "I did it for your own good," Rodolfo says, but even he hears the hollowness. "For my good?" Sebastian asks. "You nearly killed my son. You destroyed an innocent woman. You set fire to my life and warmed your hands over it." "She is an opportunist," Rodolfo breathes. "If she were, she would have come to me when she found out she was pregnant," Sebastian says, voice steady. "She didn't." Rodolfo stares. "Pregnant?" 4 months, Sebastian says. "If all she wanted was money, she wouldn't have hidden it." "Señor," Esperanza says finally, her voice low and clear, "you have done me wrong 10 times over. You have chased me from jobs. You have burned my name. You have been cruel not because you needed to be, but because you could. I will not carry you in my chest like a weight. I forgive you. I will not let you near my house with a match again, but I forgive you." Rodolfo feels something unfamiliar in his chest. Shame? Loss? He doesn't have the vocabulary. He has always had leverage. Now he has a choice. "I won't accept this," he says reflexively. "Then you accept this instead," Sebastian says, meeting his father's eyes. "You can lose your son. You can lose your grandson. You can grow old in a large house where no one opens your door." Silence takes the room. Silence explains things words can't. They leave. They plan a wedding around laughter, not spectacle. And because villains rarely take their final bow on the first cue, there is one more act. The church is small and choked with flowers. Esperanza walks down the aisle with Doña Remedios holding her hand like mothers do when they give away their daughters without losing them. Mateo stands at the altar with a suit a size too big and a phone in his pocket, which is not good manners and exactly right. "Do you take?" the priest begins and the doors slam open. Rodolfo marches in with 2 large men, the kind who take pride in blocking out light. "Stop," he booms. "This can't go on," gasps Ripple. The priest glances at God in the stained glass, and then at the man making the scene, and decides God has seen worse. This woman has a record, Rodolfo announces, holding up papers the way a magician holds up a scarf. She has debts. She has... Abuelo, Mateo calls, clear and fearless. You're lying. Be quiet, Rodolfo snaps. No, the boy says and pulls the phone from his pocket. Listen, he plays the call to the private investigator. If you don't find anything, invent it. It isn't the first time. The sound is undeniable. Murmurs change flavor. Disgust decants itself into the room. Enough, Esperanza says, stepping forward, pregnant and unafraid. I won't be tried in a church you don't even respect. The truth is in your own voice. You put a watch in my bag. You made calls to ruin me. You threatened to smear me to stop this man from loving me. You almost broke a child. No more, Sebastian says to his father. No more. Rodolfo looks from the faces to the phone to the door that is getting larger. You'll regret that, he says, because he has nothing else. No, Sebastian says. I regret everything I became when I believed you. The men leave. The priest coughs into his hand and raises his book with the gentle humor of someone who has officiated funerals where people screamed over wills and weddings where exes showed up with receipts and knows the human heart is messy but wants what's right. As I was saying, he smiles, do you take... I do, Sebastian says, eyes on Esperanza. I do, she says, eyes shining. They leave the church into sunlight that feels like a benediction and confetti that feels like rain turned into blessing. They dance with the awkwardness of people who haven't danced in a while and the grace of people who found a way out of a maze. They go home to pack boxes. They prepare a small room for a baby who will never know a world where she wasn't wanted. 3 weeks later, a woman with kind eyes and a straight back knocks on their door. Commander Patricia Vega, she says, showing a badge. I need to ask you a few questions about falsified documents and slander. They freeze. Then Mateo runs into the room and says, Are you here about the bad grandpa? Which is not the correct way to address law enforcement and exactly the right way to explain the situation. Someone filed a complaint with recordings, the commander says. Who? Sebastian asks. The attorney named Morales, she says. Who is that? Sebastian frowns. My friend's dad, Mateo chirps. I showed him the recordings. He said he could help if we wanted. I didn't want Grandpa to go to jail. I wanted him to stop. Commander Vega stretches the corners of her mouth into a smile she probably doesn't show at work. Your son is unusual, she says to Sebastian. He is, Sebastian agrees. We could push for prison, the commander says, looking between them. But the courts are slow, and the boy, she nods toward Mateo, shouldn't have to see his grandfather in handcuffs at his school play. What are our options? Esperanza asks quietly. We can offer an agreement, the commander says. A public apology in all the main papers, an admission of wrongdoing, and a fair financial compensation for the damage done. If he refuses, we proceed. He could face 2 to 6 years. They choose forgiveness that doesn't forget. 2 months later, Rodolfo signs a letter with a hand that shakes like a man signing away something he can't name. The apology appears in papers that used to print pictures of him smiling near ribbon cuttings. I, Rodolfo Montemayor, apologize, it reads, to Esperanza Hernandez Montemayor for the false accusations. I acted with prejudice and harmed an innocent, hard-working woman. He pays financial damages that feel like punishment to him and like a chance to breathe to her. 400,000 pesos aren't the same as repair, but they make chairs for a daycare out of wood that would have rotted and fund a neighborhood clinic for colds that could have turned into pneumonia. The mansion changes. It isn't remodeled so much as it is translated. Some of the rooms that held silence now hold babies who need naps and mothers who need a moment. They call it the Esperanza Foundation because naming a thing is the first way you keep it alive. 2 years later, in a garden that used to be a showpiece and is now a backyard, a little girl named Valentina toddles on unsteady legs as her big brother cheers like it is the Olympics. "She's walking," he shouts, as if he didn't fall down 3 times on the way to telling them. She lands on her bottom and laughs the loud laugh of someone who doesn't know yet that some falls hurt more than others. "Do you remember," Esperanza says, "the day we met? You gave your last 280 pesos to a stranger," Sebastian says, "and told me the truth no one else would. Who would have thought one day we'd have money to help the people who helped me," she says, watching 2 kids share a cookie like diplomats dividing territory. "You always had a rich heart," he says. "We just learned how to build rooms around it." A note arrives in the mail months later, stiff, expensive cardstock, handwriting that tries, a man's pride folded into an apology that finally left his mouth. "I miss you," it says. "I am trying to be better. I am learning late." And it is not a request, it is a confession. Some families never cross that bridge. Some do. This one decides to leave it there and see if it will hold. Perhaps one day an old man will sit on a bench under a tree and watch a little girl run and understand that love did not exile him. He exiled himself. You've stayed this long, so you've heard the easy judgments and the hard truths. You've watched a boy become brave enough to record a lie and play it out loud. You've watched a woman refuse to let cruelty dictate the shape of her life. You've watched a man refuse to let other people name his heart. So let me ask you again, if you could test who has a real heart, would you risk your comfort to find out? And if a stranger's kindness changed everything you thought you knew about love and class and power, would you have the courage to change? Because in the end, it wasn't the disguise that revealed the truth. It was the decision to keep choosing it. It was a couch offered to a stranger, a song hummed into a sick room, a phone held up in a church, a signature under an apology, a foundation opened in a room that used to hold nothing but dust. It was a family, made not by money, not by blood alone, but by the unglamorous daily work of staying, forgiving, and trying again.